Hello, this is Dr. Nuke. Today we'll be talking about winter weather in Vermont. Today is Wednesday, November 16th. We have gotten snow here today. Here in St. Johnsbury, where I'm located right now, there's about 2 inches deep of snow on the ground. Uh, Heavy, wet snow. Um, and when I woke up this morning in the town of Sheffield, to the north of here, there was a little more snow than that already on things this morning. And the roads hadn't been plowed very well, but were passable. Well, this kind of weather happens in Vermont in the winter and fall, even. In fact, in Vermont, it can snow in October. And in the springtime, it can snow as late as May. I've seen snow in May numerous times, as well as in October. And it can get extremely cold here in the wintertime, especially up where I am in this so-called Northeast Kingdom of Vermont, the three northeastern counties of Vermont, Orleans, Essex, and Caledonia. I remember one morning, that really cold winter we had years ago, the temperature in the town I live in, Sheffield, was minus 34 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. And that's a thermometer reading, not a wind chill. The wind was not actually blowing then, but it was extremely cold, and that was in the morning before the sun came up and it was still dark. Minus 34 Fahrenheit. It has gotten even colder than that on rare occasions in Vermont. I have not seen anything like it since, but you never know. After all, down in Texas, down in Dallas, it was -2. Remember when that happened? So it gets very cold here. Now, it's not like that every winter night, but there can be periods when you have a stretch of time where the temperature doesn't get above 0 for a few days, or a week, or even a couple weeks. That's rare, a couple weeks, but it's happened. Very cold. But in the summertime, things are much different. It's not freezing all year round in Vermont. It does get warm in the summer. And the growing season, though not long, is long enough to grow quite a variety of crops. Corn is grown for cattle feed for the cows, dairy cows mainly. When the corn is fed to the cows, the whole plant is given to them. The corn is harvested, stalk, ears, leaves, tassel, everything. And it's all chopped up and put in silos. And it ferments into what's called silage, and that's fed to the cows. I know about these things. I actually lived and worked on a farm in Vermont, a dairy farm, for a few weeks. And I also grew up on a farm for a few years before that, but didn't work it. Besides dairying, which has been the predominant agricultural industry in Vermont, there has been an increasing amount of other agriculture. For example, grains, a lot of vegetables being grown now. Vermont has a lot of farmers markets. A lot of towns have farmers markets, and they sell locally grown vegetables, and they sell other things as well. And there's places where they grow grapes for making wine, and I think there's some place growing barley or wheat or whatever for making beer there's the farmers, or at least a farmer growing rice, and there's people growing saffron. Saffron, the spice, the very expensive spice. It comes from the inside the flower blossom of the saffron crocus. And yeah, I was at a farmer's market, and I talked with someone there. They were selling saffron, and I forget how much they were charging for it. It was like, I don't know, some $20 a gram or something for the saffron, or for $20 for half gram. I don't know. It was a lot. A little goes a long way, though. They said that their total harvest I think from an acre and a half of crocuses was only 1 kilo of saffron. It's a low yielding crop, but a little bit of it can be sold for a lot of money. And I think that Vermont needs to diversify its agriculture further and grow more, increase agricultural production. In general, food should be generated as close to where it is consumed as possible. So Vermont should produce all of the food that it uses within practicality. Of course, obviously Vermont can't grow oranges or coconuts or pineapples or anything of that sort, but there are a lot of things we can grow. And Vermont, I believe, should increase production so that we can supply the region, the northeastern region of the United States. And Vermont should always be a agricultural state. Now, yes, Vermont is an agricultural state, and I would argue for it to be even more so, but it should be noted that there's a lot more to Vermont than just agriculture. There's long been industry here as well. Manufacturing industry has long been in Vermont, and it still is. There's a lot of manufacturing activity. The old IBM facility in Essex Junction was established in the 1950s to make computer chips. The facility is still there. IBM no longer owns it. Now it's a company called Global Foundries. But they're still making chips there, advanced chips. Although I heard they're going to be laying people off, unfortunately. Anyway, and of course tourism is a big thing for Vermont. One thing about Vermont is it hasn't been damaged as much by urban sprawl and that urban blight as some other places have. I mean, there's some sprawl around the Burlington area, and Burlington's the largest city in Vermont, and small amounts of sprawl around other towns, but by and large, most of the land is either forest or farmland. 3/4 of Vermont's land about is forest, although there is very little old growth forest. At one time, Vermont was mostly cleared. Back around the turn of the last century, Vermont was only maybe 25% forest. The opposite of the situation now. The land had been cleared for farming and the wood removed for timber and making charcoal. And so basically the land was stripped of forest. It's grown back since then, but it's not old growth. I believe some forest needs to be preserved to eventually become old growth. Maybe in another 300 years it'll be old growth. Just have to wait a very long time. um, for the ecological succession, as it's called, to take place over the centuries, where you go from the land initially being just grass and weeds and then becoming scrubby, then weed trees start growing, they mature, then other tree species start to mature, crowd out the weed trees, and over the centuries, eventually you get mature forests. And that process needs to be allowed to play itself out across a good part of Vermont, in my opinion. Well, Vermont is a very nice place to visit. I hope a lot of people will come here to see how beautiful it is. And maybe even to move here. Right now, the population of Vermont is about 620,000. And recently, I've heard that there has been a small wave of people moving into Vermont, with COVID and all that. But Vermont's a nice place to relocate to. It would be nice to have a lot of artists and thinkers and musicians and so on move to here and maybe create a new Haight-Ashbury, a new intellectual ferment. Well, just thinking. Well, this is Dr. Nuke signing off.
Hey, by the way, this is Joseph, speaking. I apologize for the camera shaking all over the place. I just wanted to let you guys know I was having a problem getting comfortable in my chair. My chair is literally solid as rock, practically, and very uncomfortable and very lumpy, so I just thought I'd let you guys know it is the most uncomfortable chair I've ever sat in my life. So I apologize. So please forgive me. And also, my hand is very shaky because I think I have issues with my brain from hitting my head. I'm actually going to get neurology appointment, so I'm going to find out what's wrong with my head. And also, me passing out, I may have issues with narcolepsy, so the doctor thinks I have it, so they want to get me tested. So I'm getting a sleep study, so I'm just going to get tested about all that stuff. So please bear with me if I end up passing out or have issues like that when I'm filming. I do apologize and everything.
Incidentally, I just had a sleep study and I have to have another one with a CPAP.
So I do have apologies if I do pass out during the videos, or I do have problems with shakiness and stuff. So I do apologize, and if I do have problems moving around, because I do have problems with my back as well, because I had problems with my brother stepping on my spine and hurting my back when I was 20 years old. He really hurt my back really bad. So yeah. So please bear with me. I'm really sorry. Thank you.